Hello, my name is Holly from My Daily Haze. Thank you for joining me today on the 7th day of Flossmas. I'm here to talk about a little bit of cross stitch, a little bit of Christmassy stuff, and today about socks. First and foremost, I am working on this little teddy bear on the rocking chair. Isn't it sweet? And I didn't get as much done on this as I would hoped last night. Just started the little teddy bear. I modified his little arms. There we go. If you look at it, his little arms, they're an odd shape. So when I was stitching it, I wanted it to be a little bit more uniform and not so angular. I'm not overly, I still have a lot more to work on it and see about it, but it was just a matter of, also I did for the same, one of his ears had a really jagged edge to it, and there's lots of half stitches in here, so I don't know why they didn't just do a half stitch. So I did a half stitch to make the ears look a bit more even, and doing lots of half stitches around the edges of his little arms. But I will probably go down and do his little jacket and then do the horse and then come down and do the rest of his body, or I don't know, just do a little bit at a time so I can modify the pattern as I go. But I do, it's coming out really lovely. And if I hadn't spent so much time doing something else yesterday, even I'm going to tell you about it in a second, I probably would have got at least the teddy bear done, or worked on some of my full coverages. I've been trying, I did my 200 stitches on falling snow yesterday, which will be appropriate because we're supposed to have snow soon. Sometime in the next 24 hours, apparently. Hope, maybe. And today I've worked on mini evening, but I'll show those in my floss tube next Monday. Anyway, I was going to show you, this is air dried clay. You could use your cookie cutters to make little air dry, and this is such clever stuff. It's like modeling clay, and you just roll it out and cut it out, cut it out to what you want, or mold it the way you want. And then you can actually draw designs in it with whatever, and then you just let it air dry. And always cut, I really shouldn't have cut such a big hole there, but I know in times past, whenever you've done like gingerbread cookies and you bake them in the oven, and if you've cut a hole so that you can hang them on your tree, the hole closes up. So I was thinking that, so I used a straw to cut the hole. And so this has got a big hole in it. I would have cut a smaller hole, but you can't change it now. But in the future, I would, if I were going to do some more of these. But yeah, it's a fun, relatively easy craft to do with kiddos. You can do little hand prints or whatever. It's lots of fun. I enjoy doing these. This has been done. This was done. I was done by myself. I was being the kid, and I really enjoyed playing with it. So I did this. I did these and did quite a few of them for presents that year. I used them as gift tags for the Christmas goodie baskets. There are parcels. I always called them parcels. My goodie parcels that I gave to my neighbors and friends. So I always tried to do like salt dome ornaments, or something like that as a little ornament on top, on the part, tie up the parcel with, which was quite lovely. But what took me so long last night was definitely not a Christmassy thing, but it's a practical thing, is that my favorite socks, the heel had gone on them. I had holes in both of the heels, and these are my absolutely favorite socks I've made. So I took the mushroom, and it's called a darning mushroom. It's a wooden stick, like a little, looks like a little mushroom toadstool kind of thing, and put a patch in both of my heels of my favorite socks to extend the life out of them. It's not great, it's not wonderful. I don't have any more. I used the absolute most amount of this thread. I used all the thread I had left because I made 2 pairs of socks. 1 pair I gave away, and the other one I used the rest of the yarn up into this pair of socks for me, but I didn't have any, so I just bought a neutral pair color of thread to go, because nobody sees your heels, and I don't care if they do see them. At least I get more use out of these. I made these 2 or 3 years ago. I really love them. But anyway, the reason why I'm talking to you about them is I learned how to darn from an elderly gentleman who belonged to a group that I went to for a while. And he had grown up in an orphanage. He was in his 90s when I knew him, and it was about 10 years ago now. But he had grown up in an orphanage, and the orphanage had taught all the children how to darn socks. So they would get people in the community to bring their socks to the children to teach them, and that was just one of the things. And this orphanage here in England would specialize in raising the children and then helping them to get jobs in like the manor houses and things like that. And yeah, my husband said, you know, it's called going into service. They would call it going into service. Sorry, my phone cut off. My storage was too full of all the videos I've been doing lately. Anyway, I was talking about that fella that I knew. Anyway, he was in his 90s when I met him. And one day we had basically a members craft fair. So everybody brought in a hobby, not craft fair, but we brought in like our bits and pieces of our hobbies to show to people and to explain. And he brought in his darning. But the fascinating thing about this gentleman, he ended up being a butler in country homes, like in the manor houses and stuff. I think Downton Abbey kind of thing. And he was very precise gentleman. He insisted the tea had to be done a certain way. He was very particular in his mode of address and mode of his attire. And he was a lovely older gentleman. He had no family. He was on his own, which was a shame. But he showed us how to darn. It was so exciting to learn from someone who'd actually done it and had been trained in it. Anyway, that's just a memory. It's nothing to do with my tree. But it was just a nice memory of one craft being passed down in the generations below. It's good stuff. Anyway, try to pass down a tradition today, or try to pass down a craft, or both. And history is important, but so is knowledge. So take what you know and pass it down to the next generation. You have a wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.